Welcome to week 21, AP Psychology students. It looks like there's a lot here, but a lot of these concept maps go pretty quick, and there's some discussions that we're going to do. So let's look at our video today. What's our goal for today? I think this is very funny, right? So look at the line to the comforting lies versus the unpleasant truths, right? How much have we seen this in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, or maybe my whole life, that we often want to hear something that makes us feel better versus really finding out the truth. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go over the schedule. I have a really interesting experiment that you can kind of do yourself, and then we'll discuss it. I'm going to have you take the Just World scale. And then for the discussion on the course page this week, you're going to do a bit of research on correlations between the Just World scale and other factors. And then the practice AP questions this week, I've made a quiz, week 21 social psychology quiz, but I would suggest this week to wait until you finish the concept maps, because just of the timing, I put together what we've done on social psychology in week 20 and week 21, and put together a quiz that has a lot of the terms. So do this at the end of the week, not right at the end of this video. And you'll see on the course page, I adjust the dates for that. So both things for today, this discussion, which I'll go over in a few minutes here, and the quiz, I put till Sunday, right? So you have that, and that'll help you practice. So there's this discussion I'm going to go over in this video in a little bit, but for the rest of the week, Tuesday, you're going to look at Milgram's study and his conclusions, that maybe, was he right or wrong, or could we think about it a little bit differently than we have? You're going to look at conformity, compliance, and obedience. You're going to look at group influences, right? So how does a group maybe change how we act? Bias, prejudice, and discrimination. We kind of also think of this as how we treat others. Kind of exploring one of your own stereotypes. I know sometimes this is difficult, but it's important that we talk about it. And then to end the week is going to be on altruism, right? So this is really Friday. I think I just have to fix this date here. I'm not sure why I put Saturday, but this evolution of trust is kind of just a fun game. It doesn't take very long, and it'll get you into the idea of altruism and aggression, of kind of when should we work together and maybe when should we not work with someone. To finish this, there's the practice multiple choice questions there. And then I put this here. It's really for the following week, but I just want you to remind you to work on it, because honestly, even though this looks like a lot, most students find that this content goes pretty quickly because it's just about understanding the terminology. So that's where we are. So let's go to this experiment. So here's the experiment that happened, and you can kind of talk to anybody in your house, or just think about it yourself, or write to a friend. Maybe you chat on social media a little bit, and you ask people this question to get a sense of what would they do. So you volunteer to participate in a psychology experiment. On arrival, you sit at a table. You are asked to undertake a series of dull, meaningless tasks for an hour, right? Afterwards, the experimenter convinces you to write an essay about the virtues of the task you had performed by describing them as highly worthwhile, interesting, and educational. You are paid either $1 or $20 to do this, right? You then are asked to privately rate your enjoyment of the tasks on the questionnaire. After which amount do you believe your actual enjoyment rating of the tasks would be higher? 1 or 20. So let's go through this. So you're doing a very dull task, and you spend an hour of your time doing that. It's very meaningless, right? But then you write an essay. So you actually write the essay saying that the task I did was really interesting, worthwhile, educational, and you're paid, right? This is probably at random. Some people are randomly paid $1, and some people are paid $20, and then secretly, privately, you get to say whether you really enjoyed the task or you did not enjoy the task, right? So who rates it higher? The person who got paid $1 or the person who got rated 20? And obviously it would be an average, right? We would see the whole group that got paid $1, what were their ratings, and a whole group that got paid $20, who rates it higher? All right, so take a minute, pause the video, maybe go ask some people or just think to yourself, would I rate it higher, 1 or 20? And when you're ready, we'll talk about what happened in this experiment. All right, so we're restarting here. So the guy who did this experiment was Osberg, and he reports that almost all students will say that the people who got paid $20 will say that it was better because they got paid more money, right? And that outcome seems like common sense. However, it's an incorrect answer. If we look at this, this idea of cognitive dissonance, this is Fessinger and Carlsman idea, right, who put participants through this scenario, found that those receiving $1 rated the tasks as more enjoyable than those who were paid 20. Wow. And they explain that the authors use the concept of cognitive dissonance to explain the results. Those who received $1 presumably had insufficient justification for their behavior, right? So why would I say it was fun if it wasn't fun if I only got paid $1? It doesn't make any sense, which led to dissonance, which in turn produced an actual change in attitude. So let's see here. What does cognitive dissonance say? We have actions, right? I did a task that was really boring. And belief. I wrote that it wasn't boring, right? And the dissonance is really high when these things don't go together, right? So when we have this feeling of dissonance, right, when our actions and our beliefs are inconsistent, then we can do 3 things. We can change our belief, we can change our action, we can change the action perception, and then the dissonance goes down. Well, the action is done, right? They've already done the action of saying it was enjoyable when it's not. So they can't change the action, right? They can change the action perception because they can say, oh, it was fun, right? So, and when we do any of these things, we lower our dissonance. So I hope you can see that if you got paid 20, your belief can just be, I wrote about it because they gave me $20, right? So you don't have to change your perception, the action perception. You don't have to change what you're really thinking. But if they paid you $1, well, I better change my action perception because that's the only way I can lower this dissonance that I feel. So pretty interesting experiment on cognitive dissonance. And if you watch people justify their actions all the time, you can see cognitive dissonance at play, right? That I really, really want how I'm behaving and how I believe to go together. And I think you've seen from the learning chapters on changing behavior is probably one of the hardest things to change. So we often change our beliefs or we change the perception of our actions before we actually change our actions. So interesting concept of cognitive dissonance. All right, the next thing I wanted to spend our time doing is have you take this Just World scale, abbreviated JWS. And what you're going to do is you got strongly agree, moderate, slightly disagree, moderately disagree, strongly disagree, and you have these 20 statements. All right, so pause the video, right? Read through the 20 statements and rate yourself on each of these things. And when you're ready, restart the video and I'll show you how to score it. All right, so as we restart the video now, what you're going to do is, to calculate this, we need to first, before we calculate the total, you need to reverse score 1, 4, 5, 8, 10, 13, 16, 17, and 20. That is, you completed it, and now you want to change. Any 0 becomes 5 points, any 1 becomes a 4 point, any 2 becomes a 3, any 3 becomes a 2, 4 to 1, and 5 to 0. So go back to questions 1, 4, 5, 8, 10, 13, 16, 17, and 20, and switch your scores. All right, and then you want to add up your numbers to all the scores. So your scores are going to range from 0 to 100, and with 100 being the highest and higher scores indicating a stronger belief in a just world. So what is a just world, right? A just world is where we think good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people, and kind of when we make our mistakes, we're punished for those things, and when we do good things, we're not punished. All right, so your discussion for this week is on this topic. All right, so here's what I would like you to discuss, and just kind of as a whole group, not breaking it up. But you filled out this Just World scale, and I would like you to make a first posting. I list other here, but these are things I could think of, possible correlations between a Just World view and these things, right? So internal versus external locus of control, authoritarianism, support for the government, belief in an act of God, trust in other people's sincerity, prejudice, and then you could think of something else that you're interested. So your first posting is you're going to explain a correlation. You need to explain whether you think it's a positive correlation or a negative correlation, and explain why you think it might exist between my ideas or your own. Really, completely up to you. All right, your second posting is going to find a source to support or refute your original ideas, right? Couldn't you find some evidence that this correlation exists or doesn't exist? And then your last comment will be a follow-up on a classmate's posting, right? Either a question or just so that we're looking, at each other's work. So there's a total of 3 postings for this discussion. All right, and I hope it's interesting for you to look at these things. All right, so that's it for today. Remember, you don't need to do week 21 social psychology quiz right now. Just go back when you've done all the concept maps for this week so you have all the key terms. And on the course page at the very end of the week for this assignment, you'll upload the notes showing that you took part in the Just World scale, any notes you took on cognitive dissonance, and then your quiz from week 21. You'll upload your results here by the end of the week. And also the discussion is open all week so that everybody has time to work on it. So thank you for your attention, and let me know if you have any questions.